Hi, it's Katie here. I'm about to share with you a slightly more advanced cubic right angle weave video. Basically, I'm going to be teaching you how you can make overhanging rows in cubic right angle weave. Now, if you're completely new to this, that's probably not going to make a lot of sense. I mean, in fact, even if you already know the technique, you might not have come across this particular variation before. It's one that I've used in a few projects. Probably the one you're most likely to know of is my beaded chocolate box. And in fact, I'll give a quick link to the video about that at the end of this, because this is just a short little piece. But basically, it's a really handy technique if you're making any kind of 3D beading project using craw. So this particular video comes from an online course that I run. It's specifically designed to teach all bead weaving techniques. So you may hear me mention other videos in the course. If you are keen on just learning techniques, I'll pop a link down to the course in the description below, so you can find out where to join that if you want to know more. But I wanted to share this particular video because I know quite a lot of people have got the chocolate box project, and I thought this could be a handy reference for anyone that is new to what I'm asking you to do within that. So anyway, that's plenty of waffling on about. Let me just grab the beads now and actually show you the technique, and then I'll pop back and we'll maybe talk a little bit more about what you can do with it. But time to get the beads out. Okay, so let's talk a bit more about overhanging rows in cubic right angle weave. This is a technique that you might find in three-dimensional beading projects. I know it's certainly one that a lot of you will have come across in my beaded chocolate box. And basically, the best way to try and describe that is if I bring in a cube of craw here. Let's imagine I wanted to create a structure where I ended up with another cube or maybe some rows or a flat piece, but so that it's kind of stepped up from my original. So basically, we've got a row that's overhanging. So it's not sitting directly on top of the original structure, it's sitting out sideways and then building up from there. And of course, that gives you massive flexibility for creating hinges and doing other exciting things like that. So how would you go about building such a row? Well, it's actually not as difficult as you think. If you've already seen the video on diagonal craw, then some of this is going to look quite familiar to you. If you haven't, you might want to watch that video as well, but let's just get started here. So basically, your new row isn't going to link on top of your existing beads, it's going to sit out to the side. So the only link it's going to have is with the bead that sits on the very edge of your structure. So I'm exiting from one such bead now, and as you build a new cube, you're basically building it from scratch. So you're going to start by picking up 3 beads and passing in through the bead that you're exiting. So we're making a floor for this cube. From here, we need to build our 4 walls, just as you would on any craw unit. So the first wall, we've got 3 beads going on. Again, we're going to use that same bead from our original structure to put the first wall in place. Then we're going to continue on through the next bead in the floor. So that's the first set of 3 beads that we put in. So now we've got 2 beads going on, and that's going to give us the second wall of this unit. Once again, I'm going to carry on through the floor bead. Again, we've got 2 beads going on, and we're creating our third wall. So I'm assuming here that you know basic cubic right angle weave. If you don't, then obviously please learn the basic technique first. But to come back to this, we've got our final wall going in place. So we go through the last bead in the floor and then through the side bead in the first wall. Got just one bead to add to create our final wall. And then we're going to continue up that wall and just finish the unit by sealing the roof. So we've not done anything different in terms of the actual crawl structure itself. All that's happened is your join is just going to be on one single existing bead rather than on a full base. So let me continue on now. We've sealed that top and we're ready to move on to the next bead in the initial structure. So again, I'm going to start by building my floor, but remember this time I've got 2 of the beads in place. So I mean, this is still exactly the same crawl technique that you're used to. This would be the kind of structure and setup that you're using when you're adding new beads to a row, new rows onto a structure. So I've got my new floor in place. Now I'm going to continue adding on my walls. Obviously I've got one wall in place already from my previous unit. So I've just got the 3 to add on here. It's number 2, and then our final wall. So get that in place and once again seal up the roof to just complete the unit. Now I deliberately started close to the end of a row because I wanted to show you what would happen when you reach a corner. So we're going to continue building this overhang so that we go along this edge. In fact, we're going to go right the way around the edge of our cube here. But as you reach this corner, you haven't got an obvious new bead to go into. So if I went into the next bead on my original structure, the unit I would add in place would sit in this space here and we'd have nothing left in the corner. So what I'm going to do first is just stay exiting from that last unit that I added, my last overhang unit, and I'm going to add a brand new unit onto that. So that's going to give us our overhanging corner. So this unit goes in place exactly the same as any basic crawl unit when you're making a rope. You're just using the end wall of your overhanging strip to create the floor, if you like, for your new unit. So again, I am not emphasizing the crawl structure here. I'm assuming that you've already studied basic cubic right angle weave and you're familiar with that. If you haven't, then please do. You'll want obviously the basics, but it would also be worth making sure you understand how to build floors and walls in cubic right angle weave, and you'll find the videos for both of those in the class too. So make sure you know all of that before moving on to this. So now we've got our overhanging corner in place. So from here, we're just going to continue and weave on in so we can start moving along with the overhang on the next side. So I'll just show you that first unit. Again, we've got one wall in place already, so we're going to start by adding our floor in, just the 2 beads to complete that. Then, as before, we can just build up the walls around that. And of course, finally, we'll seal the roof. So really and truly, there are just three elements to this overhanging technique. Remember, in your first unit, you're starting everything from scratch. So you're building a brand new floor, 4 brand new walls, and putting your roof in place. In the next units where you're working along a side, you are still building your floor, but you've got 1 wall in place already. So you just need to add 3 walls and seal your roof. When you get to a corner on an overhang piece, you've got to build the unit outwards, and then of course you can turn the corner and we can just continue nicely along this side. So I'll continue in that way along the side, work around the next corner, and so on and so on. And then once I've got that structure in place, I've obviously got options. So I can build extra walls on top of it, I can build floors out from it, or I might even want to join it onto another piece of structure. So again, that's another little video to watch, joining cubic right angle weave, because you will find that this basic joining of a rope or simple rows is straightforward, but you might want to reconsider how you join when you're dealing 3D objects. So that should give you a guide as to how you can build out an overhang, and you can use that for creating steps or for enlarging your structure, or basically whatever the beading pattern is calling on you to do. Okay, so I hope you found that helpful. There's obviously an awful lot you can do once you get to grips with that technique, and hopefully, if I manage to do my job right, you've also seen that it's not as difficult as you are perhaps imagining. Once again, if there were references in that to other videos, those are not on my YouTube channel. They're only available within the online class. So the link is down below if you want to check out any of those. But I do have plenty of other videos here on YouTube. I will leave you with a look at that beaded chocolate box so you can put everything into better context. And I would really love it if you would help support the channel so I can bring more beading ideas, more technique videos, and even a few projects to everyone for free here. So to do that, if you would subscribe, I would be hugely grateful. Thank you. And in any case, just thank you for watching today, and happy beading.